All right, everybody, this is take number 3. Every time I try to get this thing started, somebody else interrupts me. This is The Man in the High Castle. We are going to do season 1, episode 1. We're going to do the whole series because season 3 is coming, and I thought it'd be a nice time to re-watch the episode and get ready for season 3. That is imminently upon us. They haven't given us a date yet, but I figured, what the hell, it's my day off and I haven't seen this in a long time. So if you haven't seen the first episode, I highly recommend you go and watch that and come back and watch this. I will be doing one episode probably a day, maybe 2 a day. But if you don't know what this show is, it's based on a Philip K. Dick story about if the Allies had lost the war and Japan has the West Coast, Germany has the East Coast. You don't really know too much about the rest of the world, but the central part of our country is the neutral zone. And basically, it's 1962, and you can see the evidence of like the German takeover. Like some of the subways look a little more modern, which means that their scientists were, unabated. They've been doing all sorts of stuff, changing things, making things. And we start with Joe Blake, played by this guy I've never heard of, Luke Kleinstank, something like that. Watching a propaganda movie that's a German propaganda movie, and it's interesting, that like it's 1962 and they're still running propaganda movies. It's not one of ours, but you would see, of course, since we're the occupied country, it kind of makes sense that the Germany is still trying to, convince Americans, this is the state of the world now, and you've got to get on board, but making it all very, Fallout sounding, like film strip wise, like what a great world that we live in, and it's so weird to see the American flag with like the swastika on it. But Joe Blake is our plucky little hero who is trying to become a part of the resistance and gets a message from the guy in the theater. This is obviously where you're supposed to wait and meet somebody. He goes to the meeting place where he meets Michael Rispoli's character, who we find out is like the leader of the resistance. And we go through the kind of the old hat thing where the kid has to convince the guy that he's on the up and up. In this case, it's done with more seriousness, even though the usual, this type of scene is very cheesy. Hey kid, we don't, this world, you were born into this world, you don't know what the old world was like, so why should I trust you type of scene. And, in those old movies, they'd be like, look, mister, I believe in, truth, justice, and the American way, and I want to fight those Nazis, and fight those Krauts, and fight those Japs. But in this, it's more like, done more serious, more believable. But the thing is that like it's one, you should do this once, but then once he's convinced, he has to do it again with the guy that he's showing the plans to. And if I had one criticism about this show, it's that kind of scene where you have to keep convincing people. Like every person you meet, they have a scene where it's like, I don't trust you. And as far as a series goes, that can get pretty old pretty quick. Just constantly every room you go into meeting somebody. I think that they need to find ways to move it along. Like, yeah, we had some trouble back there, but we're cool. But he does again convince this guy that he's on the up and up, and he gets this mission. He's supposed to drive this truck that's full of coffee makers and head out. But the Germans show up, start killing everybody. Start taking everybody. They tell Joe to take off and run, but it's a little too convenient because everybody else is captured. The leader is captured. Everybody's getting put on their knees, which is a hard scene to watch. Seeing Americans on their knees for Nazis, getting their heads blown off. Thankfully, they don't show that part, but you hear the gunshot, which is just as effective. Show don't or tell don't show, and it just gets under your skin. Anytime you think of like Nazis and besting America, you can't help but be a little patriotic in those kind of moments where you're just like, good, I want to fuck some Nazis up right now. And Michael Rispoli's character is taken away by Rufus Sewell, who is introduced as Obergruppen. I can't I'm telling you, try to say this name like 3 times fast. Obergruppenführer John Smith. Whew. Obergruppenführer basically means really, really high-ranking SS. You know, back in the day, they actually used this. I had never heard that term until this show. I thought it was just like, who made that shit up? Obergruppenführer, like, so I knew that the word sounded legitimate enough that I had to look it up, and that's basically what it means. The only people with like a higher rank would be like Goring and Goebbels and, you know, Himmler, and then be Hitler. So Rufus Sewell, he's our main villain. He is ruthless. He is an excellent actor. If you haven't seen Dark City or things like that, this guy's a really good actor. He's perfect as this guy. And they take Michael Respoli's leader character to be interrogated and tortured, all that jazz. Now we shift gears to the West Coast. We're introduced to Juliana Crane, who is living in San Francisco in the occupied area of, Japanese area. She's learning Aikido. We get established that she can, she's tough. She can take care of herself, but she is adjusting. She is, getting used to as much as you can, the occupation by the Japanese on this side of the world. And, it's cool to see her being able to kick ass. It's nice to have her established as she's not just some little shrinking violet completely, who's going to not know what to do. I mean, yeah, we're going to have plenty of situations where she's going to be like, I'm not a soldier type of thing. But here we also have her, she runs into her sister Trudy, who she hasn't seen in a long time, who you can tell is very preoccupied with something going on in her life. And that it's a pretty quick, they just have to introduce her, get this like established. She has a job. It's making her nervous. I wonder what that could be. We also see her parents, where we see another, type of way of looking at this world, where the people that were clearly younger when the war was going on are not quite letting it go in the privacy of their own home, mocking, like talking shit about the Germans. Her worry for her daughter, but like how her, they're happy that her, at least her father type character, is happy that she's able to defend herself. There's this, they kind of keep alluding throughout this episode to an accident that she has overcome, and that, the exercise is good for her. We also then get introduced to her husband, played by Rupert Evans, who you might remember from Hellboy. That's about the only thing I remember him from. And he wants to have kids, but he's Jewish and he's an artist and all this stuff. And, she kind of has to shoot him down as to their future right now, because Jewish kids, Germany, not looking too good for, their future as far as like having a family. Again, establishing the dangers that they're living in. And this is like where we're also introduced pretty quickly to DJ Qualls, who is basically supposed to be our comic relief / exposition guy. The guy who, when he sees them kissing type of thing, is like, hey, you guys, hey, But then he's also the guy that starts explaining about, when they see Hitler on TV, oh, he's got Parkinson's. He has about 6 months to live, and, there's going to be a power struggle. And we get a lot of that from him and maybe one or two other people that just kind of start pounding it home about the struggle that's going to be happening when Hitler loses power, and how these other guys behind Hitler are worse than him. They're just waiting to drop the H-bomb and really get rid of the people that Hitler has kind of allowed at this point to keep living. We also, now we have, Joe is on the road, his car breaks down. He gets, help from this cop who tells him, that the ash falling from the sky is coming from the hospital, I think he said, where they're burning cripples and the terminally ill. Nice, right? So the burning of bodies and the killing of people that the state feels, useless, is still going on. So that's just great. We also have our introduction to This guy that he's been in, he played like Shang Tsung in Mortal Kombat. He's been in everything. Hiroyuki Tagawa. His character's name is Nobusuke Tagomi. I am not going to be able to say that. I'm almost going to need like a fucking flashcard on the wall. But you've seen him in a ton of stuff. He's a really good actor. He's kind of like a ambassador type character, who they're planning this like visit of the Japanese prince and princess to the German occupied area. He's basically saying, like, this stuff that you have here, we need to make some like changes to what you guys have here, telling the Germans, which doesn't go well over quietly behind their backs with the Germans, who basically are, just call them the slant-eyed guys, like they're just waiting for their opportunity to take everything that Hitler gave to them, and just wipe them out. So you can already see that there's just, even between these powers, there's still this like razor's edge thing going on where we could have another world war at any time. So you can tell that there's something going on with this Tagomi character. He seems very troubled, for a man who's high rank. Should, kind of keep him at ease. But there's something behind that, something that he knows, something that has been really troubling him, and it's not just the possible, collapse of their government that they've set up because of Hitler's imminent demise coming. But that's a topic for another time. He does meet with this guy from Germany that he's not supposed to be meeting with. He's kind of like telling him more. He's another exposition guy talking more about what would happen if Hitler, when Hitler dies. And so there's still there. For a first episode, they're really trying to create this, this what's happening, what is the possibilities, like the real dangers in this world. And I guess, now that we see Trudy show up again, and she's panicked. She hands Juliana this package, says it's a way out, where she runs off and gets immediately stopped and murdered in the street by Japanese authorities. Juliana takes this package home, and it's a film strip that she watches over and over and over and over and over again. They don't really show us, they show little glimpses, but it's a film that shows the other reality that or another reality, but the reality that we know, where the Allies won. It's film strips, it's clips from films that we've all seen, in like History Channels type stuff of the war that was being won by us. And it moves her so much that she believes that this is, real. Her husband comes home and he's telling her, this is his little bit of exposition, telling her that this was probably made by the man in the high castle. We have a title, everyone. And that he makes propaganda films to mess with the Germans and the Japanese, and that this isn't real. And she's like, look at that shit, man. That is real. This is somewhere from somewhere, so where's it from, basically, But he lets her know that this is treason to have, and that they've all been ordered to be destroyed, that kind of thing. She's supposed to let it go. He wants her to go to the cops, make sure that they get their ass covered. But once he leaves, she takes off to where her sister was supposed to go with this. She meets the guy that was supposed to meet her, and she takes her place to take this film strip to where it needs to go. In the meantime, she's on this bus. She meets our typical character that's supposed to be like, oh, hi, I'm, Sally Whitebread, and I'm, isn't this interesting, and aren't you on the weird, on this bus? Why are you here? It's like, why are you here? You're white too. But they're headed towards the neutral zone. This lady proceeds to steal her bag. Whoops. Who didn't see that coming as well? But she doesn't get the film strip. And it's just kind of one of those scenes where was she a spy on the bus, or was she just some crazy bitch that wanted to steal stuff? Probably that, but I don't know. In the meantime, so she ends up at this diner where she makes a phone call to Frank, who is in the meantime getting, Japanese authorities. They're onto them. They know shit. This guy's pretty scary. The guy with the glasses. Not Doug Walker. Just the Japanese authority with the glasses. The phone's ringing. I hate these scenes in movies where they build this tension that doesn't need to be there. Like the unanswered phone. Who's on the other end? It's her, but that whole looking over, you're like, just answer the damn phone. Stop creating false tension. But anyway, he's too late. She hangs up. She can't, and so they tell him, hey, treason. If you're lying, it's whatever. So she can't pay for her lunch. That's when Joe Blake shows up to be Mr. Charming. They're in the same area. He pays for her lunch. He's being Mr. Charming. He's laying it on pretty damn thick, putting on his best, Captain Whitebread hero kid guy, and he has to go make a phone call. And this is where we find out that on the other end of that phone call is Obergruppenführer John Smith, revealing that Joe Blake, our little plucky hero, is a Nazi. So it's a nice little twist that plays with our expectations of the hero turning out to be the villain, who is now with our hero, Juliana. Now, how much he knows about her could be nothing. She definitely doesn't know about him. And in the meantime, her husband's been taken away by the Japanese authorities. The body of the poor leader, who has been beaten to death in a scene that Rufus Sewell was fantastic at, telling the guard that even though he's unconscious, your orders were to beat him until he talks, which means you're going to beat an unconscious man to death. And they didn't want the resistance to know that they're onto them, because if they let him go, then maybe they would believe he had talked. So if they just dump his body, they are going to assume that he didn't tell them anything. But now we know that they've been onto them. They're, what I believe, and I think I'm right about this, I know I've seen this before, but I'm kind of forgetting all the details, but that they're on track. They're trying to find the man in the high castle to stop these films at their source. And that is it for this episode. It is a pretty good, solid pilot episode. It was called The New World. Yeah. And so it makes you really want to, follow this up. It is kind of a slow burn, and it is dense. It's another one of the reasons why this took me 3 times, is because there's so many things to remember, so many character names, so many ins and outs, that it was pretty hard to do, besides people, barging in and trying to, on my day off to do other things. So anyway, if you like this video and you'd like to continue watching The Man in the High Castle with me, please hit like, comments, share, subscribe. We are at about 169 subscribers. And so, just keep coming along this journey, any of you who choose to watch it. We also have more videos. We've got Handmaid's Tale, we've got Legion, we've got Westworld, previous things. I just released videos for the Uncharted fan film, the Robin Williams documentary, and we will have comic reviews coming up later on in the week. And yeah, that's about it for right now. So this is Rob from Smirking Gun Reviews saying thanks for all the support. To anybody who watches this, thank you for watching, and we will see you on the next video or episode. See ya. Bye.